The alien medic said she needed a sample. Her method left me weak in the knees.
The first thing I noticed was the warmth. Not the sterile, artificial heat of a spaceship's medbay, but something deeper, something that seeped into my bones like sunlight on bare skin. It was soothing, lulling me back toward unconsciousness. But then the second thing hit me. The air. It smelled different, crisp, slightly sweet, carrying a faint metallic tang that didn't belong to any recycled oxygen system I knew. It was clean, too clean, like a forest after a heavy rain, but laced with something floral, something alien. My eyelids were heavy, but I forced them open. The room around me was dimly lit, pulsing with soft blue light that shifted like breathing. The walls weren't metal. They were alive, almost organic, with patterns that shifted as if reacting to my presence. I wasn't in my ship anymore. I tried to sit up. Pain flared through my body, a deep, aching soreness like every muscle had been pulled too tight. My limbs felt sluggish, like they didn't quite belong to me. Then I saw her. She stood at the far end of the room, studying a translucent panel covered in shifting symbols that glowed under her touch. Tall, elegant, unmistakably not human. Her skin shimmered in the low light, deep violet with silver undertones that caught the glow from the walls. The contours of her body were sleek, powerful. Her figure almost impossibly perfect, curves that seemed sculpted by some divine hand, long limbs that moved with an effortless grace. Then there were her eyes, large, golden, luminous. They flicked toward me the moment I stirred, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. I sucked in a breath. My throat was dry. She stepped closer, and I noticed the way her uniform clung to her, form-fitting, seamless, almost as if it had grown around her body instead of being worn. It shifted slightly with her movements like living fabric. "You are awake." Her voice was smooth, low, with a faint resonance that made my skin prickle. There was no translator lag. Her words flowed effortlessly into my ears, as if she had spoken my language all her life. "Where?" My voice came out rough, my throat scratchy. She tilted her head slightly, as if studying me from a different angle. "You are aboard the Velithary Prime, a medical vessel." I let that sink in. "My ship." She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. "You were found adrift after an impact. Your vessel was damaged beyond recovery." My stomach dropped. I was the only survivor? She didn't answer right away. That told me enough. A heavy silence stretched between us before she spoke again, softer this time. "You suffered significant trauma, but we stabilized you." I glanced down at myself. My clothes were gone, replaced by a smooth, slate-gray material that fit snugly against my skin. My arms were bare, and where I expected bruises and burns, there was nothing but smooth, unblemished flesh. "How long was I out?" I asked. "3 rotations," she said. "Approximately 72 of your hours." 3 days. I exhaled, trying to piece things together, but my mind was still sluggish. Maybe it was the lingering effects of whatever treatment they'd used on me. Maybe it was just the shock. Then she reached out, placing a warm, 6-fingered hand on my arm. The touch was electric, not painful, but charged like static dancing over my skin. My breath hitched. "You are experiencing residual biological adaptation," she murmured, watching me closely. "Your body is still adjusting to the stabilizing process." "Feels weird," I admitted. She let her fingers linger for a moment before withdrawing. "It will pass." I swallowed, still hyper-aware of the sensation she'd left behind. "So, what happens now?" Her gaze flickered, unreadable. "I must conduct a more thorough examination." A chill ran down my spine. Not from fear, but from something else. Something I didn't quite understand yet. "What kind of examination?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped even closer, close enough that I could see the faint, luminescent veins beneath her skin, the way her chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. "Our medical procedures are different from what you may expect." Her golden eyes held mine unblinking. "It requires a direct sample." My heart hammered. I had a feeling this was about to get very interesting. I swallowed hard, my mind scrambling to keep up. A direct sample. That could mean a lot of things. blood tissue, maybe even a neural scan. But something about the way she said it, the way her golden eyes studied me with that unreadable intensity, sent a different kind of shiver through me. I cleared my throat. Okay, so, what does that involve? She tilted her head slightly, the motion slow and deliberate, like she was analyzing every nuance of my reaction. Then she stepped closer, her tall, elegant form moving with an unsettlingly perfect grace. "You are human," she murmured, almost as if speaking to herself. "Your physiology is unique among the species we have encountered." Her fingers brushed over a translucent panel beside the bed, and the dim, pulsing lights of the room shifted to a deep violet hue. The air around me thickened with a faint, almost imperceptible hum, like the entire room was alive, reacting to whatever command she had just given. I tensed. "That doesn't answer my question." Her gaze flickered downward, studying my exposed skin, before she met my eyes again. "Traditional methods are inadequate for stabilizing a human. Your genetic structure is highly adaptive, but also unpredictable under extreme trauma." I frowned. "Unpredictable how?" She hesitated again, but only for a fraction of a second. "Your cells respond uniquely to direct biological synchronization." Synchronization? She exhaled a sound that was both patient and something else. Not frustration. Amusement, maybe? Physical alignment. Stabilization through intimate cellular exchange. My brain screeched to a halt. "Wait!" I blinked. "Are you saying you need to?" Her dark lips curved in the barest hint of a smile. "Yes." I stared at her, heartbeat hammering against my ribs. She couldn't mean what I thought she meant. There was no way. "You need to physically, with me?" She didn't blink. "It is necessary for your survival." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process this. I had expected needles, tubes, maybe some weird alien machine that would scan my insides. Not this. "You're serious," I muttered. Her expression remained utterly composed, but there was something in her gaze, something steady, unwavering. "I do not make light of medical matters," she said simply. There was no hesitation in her voice, no awkwardness, no embarrassment. She was treating this like it was as routine as checking a pulse. Meanwhile, my brain was short-circuiting. "So, this is standard practice for your species?" "Not standard," she admitted, tilting her head again, "but effective. And there's no other way?" Her golden eyes narrowed slightly, studying me. "You wish to risk instability?" That shut me up. I might not have fully understood what was happening to my body, but the fact was I had been unconscious for 3 days, my entire system thrown into chaos. If she was saying this was the only way to stabilize me, then what choice did I really have? Still, part of me knew that wasn't the real reason I was hesitating. The real reason was standing right in front of me, tall, mesmerizing, her otherworldly beauty practically radiating off her. And the way she was looking at me? Like I was an anomaly, something fascinating and utterly hers to fix. I had dreamed about meeting an alien woman for years. And now, one was telling me she needed to be intimate with me for medical reasons. A slow heat coiled in my stomach. "All right," I said, my voice rougher than I intended. "What do I have to do?" Her lips curved slightly again, as if she had already known what my answer would be. "Nothing," she murmured. "Simply accept." She reached out, her six-fingered hand pressing lightly against my chest. A warmth spread through me instantly, deeper than touch, deeper than sensation itself. My breath hitched, my skin humming with something I didn't understand, something far more primal than medicine. She leaned in, her scent filling my senses. Sweet, intoxicating, laced with something I had no name for. Her lips brushed against my ear as she whispered, "Let me begin." Every rational part of my brain told me I should be asking more questions. What exactly did synchronization involve? What were the side effects? What did this mean for me long term? But none of those thoughts made it past the roaring in my ears, past the way my pulse pounded beneath her fingertips. She was still touching me, palm pressed against my chest, and I felt it, this strange electric warmth that spread outward from the contact point, flowing through my veins like liquid fire. It wasn't painful, but it was powerful, like my body was responding to something ancient and instinctual. She exhaled, the breath warm against my skin. You are highly receptive. I swallowed hard. Yeah, well, I'm trying to be a good patient. That earned me something close to a smirk, a small curve of her lips, but her eyes, her golden eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my stomach tighten. I will proceed, she murmured. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if she was even waiting for permission. She stepped closer, and I became hyper-aware of just how much taller she was than me. My head barely reached her shoulders. Up close, her presence was overwhelming. Her skin had this luminous quality, shimmering slightly in the violet glow of the room. Then she moved. I expected something clinical, something methodical. Instead, she lowered herself onto the bed beside me, her long, elegant limbs folding in a way that seemed both practiced and deliberate. One of her 6 fingers traced along my forearm, and I sucked in a sharp breath at the sensation. This may feel unusual, she said softly. Before I could ask what she meant, she pressed her palm flat against my skin again, this time against my abdomen. A pulse of heat shot through me. I gasped, my back arching slightly, every nerve ending in my body lighting up at once. It was unlike anything I had ever felt before. Not pain, not pleasure, but something far more raw, more primal. My heartbeat synced with the warmth, like it was answering her. Your body is responding well, she observed, voice low, smooth. I barely heard her. My breath came in shallow gasps as she dragged her fingers higher, across my ribs, up to my collarbone. Everywhere she touched, that heat followed, spreading like wildfire. What is this? I managed, voice hoarse. Her gaze remained locked on me, unblinking. Cellular attunement. Our bodies are aligning. I barely understood what that meant, but I could feel it. My skin tingled. My muscles shuddered involuntarily as another wave of warmth cascaded through me. My body wasn't just adjusting, it was yearning, and I wasn't alone in that feeling. She exhaled slowly, and I saw it. Just the faintest tremor in her fingers as they continued mapping my form. Her gaze remained impassive, but there was something underneath it now. Something hungry. My mind was spinning. I had gone from being a half-dead survivor to lying in an alien bed, my body thrumming under the touch of a woman so breathtakingly inhuman that it sent my instincts into a tailspin. I could feel my own restraint fraying. Are you feeling this too? I rasped. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned in, her lips hovering just above my shoulder. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely more than a whisper. Of course. Then she pressed her lips to my skin. A shockwave tore through me. Not a simple kiss. No, this was something deeper, something fundamental. A pulse of heat, a merging of sensations so intense that I groaned before I could stop myself. My fingers clenched against the bedding, my entire body rigid from the sheer force of it. She made a low sound, almost a purr. I must complete the synchronization, she murmured against my skin. At this point, I wasn't sure whether I was surrendering or begging. Then do it. She lifted her head, golden eyes locking onto mine. As you wish. The moment her lips touched my skin, I stopped thinking altogether. A deep, rolling heat spread from the point of contact, sinking beneath my flesh, into my muscles, down to my very bones. It wasn't just warmth, it was something alive, something that pulsed in time with my heartbeat. No, that wasn't right. My heartbeat was sinking to her. I shuddered as she moved, her lips trailing over my collarbone, her 6-fingered hands mapping the shape of me with deliberate care. There was nothing rushed, nothing frantic. Every motion, every touch was measured, precise, like she was learning me, like she was memorizing me. Her breath came steady and even, but I wasn't fooled. I could feel the faint tremor in her fingertips, the subtle tightening of her grip when I exhaled against her skin. Whatever the synchronization was, it wasn't just affecting me. I swallowed hard, struggling to find my voice. Is this supposed to feel like this? She hummed softly, the vibration of it sending another shockwave down my spine. This process is intimate by nature, she admitted, her lips ghosting over my jawline now, her voice impossibly smooth. Your biology is highly receptive. I exhaled sharply as her fingers traced a slow, deliberate path down my ribs. Every touch sent ripples of sensation through me, a growing tide that refused to be ignored. My body wasn't just responding to her, it was craving her. She shifted, pressing closer, and suddenly I was acutely aware of just how much of her there was. She was taller, broader in a way that still felt elegant but undeniably powerful. Her body was warm where it pressed against mine, radiating heat that was different from human warmth, more intense, more consuming. I gritted my teeth. "You're really not holding back, are you?" She pulled back just enough to look at me, golden eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "This is me holding back." I shivered at the way she said it, so matter of fact, like she was stating an undeniable truth. A thrill shot through me, half anticipation, half something dangerously close to need. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I didn't care. She shifted again, and I felt her breath against my lips, her proximity overwhelming. My hands twitched at my sides, aching to move, to touch, to hold, but I hesitated. She noticed. Her lips parted slightly, her expression unreadable. "You restrain yourself." I swallowed, my throat dry. "I just don't want to screw this up." Something in her gaze flickered. Something warmer, something pleased. "You won't." That was all the permission I needed. I reached up, fingers brushing against the smooth curve of her jaw. She inhaled sharply, the first true sign of surprise I had seen from her, and for a moment, neither of us moved. The air between us was charged, humming with something raw and unspoken. Then, slowly, deliberately, I pulled her toward me. Her golden eyes never left mine as she closed the final distance, her lips brushing against mine in a way that sent a deep, aching heat curling through my stomach. It was soft at first, tentative like she was testing the sensation, adjusting to it. Then she melted into me. The kiss deepened, and the world tilted. Her fingers tangled in my hair, her other hand pressing against my chest as if she was anchoring herself to me. The warmth between us ignited into something more, something that sent a low, involuntary sound rumbling in my throat. She responded instantly, pressing closer, her body molding against mine like she belonged there. Maybe she did. I had no idea how much time passed. Seconds? Minutes? A lifetime? All I knew was the way she felt, the way my body responded to hers, the way her touch left trails of fire in its wake. When she finally pulled back, her breathing was slightly uneven, her golden eyes darker than before. "It is done," she murmured. I stared at her, chest rising and falling in deep, unsteady breaths. My entire body still hummed with the aftershocks of whatever the hell had just happened. "That's it." My voice was rough, barely above a whisper. She studied me for a long moment. Then her lips curved into the faintest, most wicked smile I had ever seen. "That," she said, voice dripping with something dangerously close to amusement, "was only the beginning." The air between us still crackled, charged with something neither of us acknowledged out loud. My skin felt like it was still buzzing, every nerve attuned to the lingering imprint of her touch. I could still taste her, something faintly sweet, something alien, and it sent another shiver down my spine. I wasn't sure if it was from the heat of the moment or something deeper, something more biological. Maybe both. She exhaled, slow and deliberate, and when she finally moved, I had to fight the instinct to pull her back. She lifted herself from where she had been pressed against me, her golden eyes flickering with some unreadable emotion. I wanted to think it was satisfaction, but there was something else beneath it, something assessing. Her six-fingered hand traced a path down my sternum, as if she were checking something only she could perceive. I had never been more aware of my own breathing. Then she spoke, her voice still carrying that low, velvet tone. "Your body has fully adapted." I blinked, my mind still sluggish from whatever the hell had just happened. "That's good, right?" She hummed, neither confirming nor denying. Her gaze lingered on me, her pupils narrowing slightly before she lifted herself into a standing position. I suddenly felt cold without her body heat near mine. This synchronization is complete. Her tone was smooth, clinical, too clinical. I pushed myself up onto my elbows, watching her with a strange sense of apprehension. So, what now? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned toward the glowing panel at the far end of the room, her fingers gliding over it in practiced motions. A quiet hum filled the air, something shifting in the walls, like the entire ship had been waiting for her command. Then she glanced over her shoulder. You will be monitored to ensure long-term stability. There was something off about the way she said it, a note of restraint that hadn't been there before. I frowned. That sounds like I'm being kept under observation, like a test subject. She turned fully, her expression composed, unreadable. It is standard protocol. That wasn't what bothered me. What bothered me was the slight tension in her posture. The way she seemed almost distant now, like something had changed in the last few moments. I sat up fully, swinging my legs over the side of the strange, organic-feeling bed. My body still felt different, lighter, stronger, more attuned, but I didn't care about that right now. What aren't you telling me? Her lips pressed together just for a second. Then she exhaled, stepping closer again. The warmth of her presence was immediate, and I hated how much I already missed it. The bond was successful, she admitted, lowering her voice slightly. More successful than anticipated. Something in my stomach tightened. Meaning, her golden gaze locked onto mine. Meaning you are no longer fully human. The words landed like a blow. I blinked, staring at her, waiting for her to explain, to take it back, to elaborate. She didn't. I swallowed hard. I what? She lifted her hand again, this time pressing her palm flat against my chest. The second she touched me, I felt it, something humming beneath my skin, something pulsing in rhythm with the ship itself. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. You are altered now, she said, her voice quieter, softer. Your cells have absorbed part of the synchronization process. Your body has begun to change. I opened my mouth and closed it again. My brain felt like it was misfiring, trying to piece together something too big, too alien to fully comprehend. I flexed my fingers, expecting them to feel different, but they didn't. I was still me, wasn't I? I forced out a breath. What kind of changes are we talking about? She hesitated. That, more than anything, sent a chill down my spine. Then she withdrew her hand, folding her arms behind her back in a way that seemed oddly formal. That remains to be seen. I ran a hand through my hair, frustration bubbling beneath my skin. You should have told me this before we did. I gestured vaguely at the bed. Whatever the hell that was. She tilted her head, unblinking. Would you have refused? I opened my mouth to say yes, but the word didn't come. Because I knew the truth. I wouldn't have. I hadn't even hesitated. Something in my silence must have given me away, because her expression softened just the slightest bit. I did not deceive you, she said. But I did not anticipate this outcome. I let out a slow, measured breath. And what outcome is that exactly? Her eyes searched mine, and for the first time, I thought I saw something close to hesitation. The bond is permanent, she admitted. Your body and mine are now connected, in ways beyond simple biology. I stared at her, my heart thudding in my chest. Connected, I echoed. She nodded once. You are not merely a patient anymore. I swallowed, trying to process the weight of those words. So what does that make me then? For a long moment, she just looked at me. Then she reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against my wrist. The touch was gentler now, almost tentative. Mine, she murmured. A deep, bone-deep shiver ran through me. Not fear, not regret. Something else. Something I wasn't sure I was ready to name. All I knew was that, whatever had just happened between us, it was only the beginning. Her words hung in the air between us, heavy and unshakable. Mine! I should have questioned it. Should have demanded more explanation, more clarity, something. But instead, I just felt it. Like the truth of it had already settled into my bones, into my bloodstream, long before she said it out loud. I swallowed hard, my pulse thrumming in my ears. That's a hell of a thing to say. Her golden eyes didn't waver. It is not a claim I make lightly. Something deep in my chest clenched at that. A strange, primal instinct I didn't fully understand yet. The logical part of me knew I should be more concerned. that I should be panicking over the fact that I was no longer fully human, that my body was now, in some way, bonded to hers. But logic had very little say in this. My body knew before my mind did. I exhaled slowly, running a hand through my hair, trying to process. So, what does that mean for me? For us? She stepped closer, her presence washing over me like warmth from a star. The ship's pulsing lights reflected off her iridescent skin, making her seem even more unreal, more otherworldly. It means your body will continue to change, she said, her voice softer now, like she was easing me into the idea. You may notice shifts in perception, heightened senses, a deeper connection to energy fields beyond human awareness. My brows furrowed. Energy fields? She lifted her six-fingered hand and, without warning, brushed her fingertips against my temple. The moment she touched me, my vision exploded. It wasn't pain, wasn't even disorienting, just new. A sudden awareness, like my mind had been cracked open and shown something that had been there all along, just beyond the limits of my perception. The room around me thrummed, alive with unseen currents. I felt the walls, the gentle vibrations beneath the ship's surface. The warmth of her body beside mine wasn't just heat. It was energy, something deep and pulsing, something that called to me in a way I didn't understand. I sucked in a sharp breath. What the? She withdrew her hand, and just like that, the sensation dulled. Not gone, just quieter, lingering at the edges of my awareness like a song I could almost hear. She watched me carefully. Your neural pathways are adapting. I let out a shaky laugh. No kidding. She tilted her head slightly. Does this frighten you? I opened my mouth to say yes. But it wasn't true. It should have scared me. I should have been terrified. My body wasn't just healing, it was evolving. My mind was stretching in ways I couldn't explain. And yet, I looked at her, at the way she was watching me, waiting for my reaction. The way her fingers had lingered on my skin, not just out of necessity, but something more. I swallowed. No, I admitted. It doesn't. Something shifted in her expression. Not relief, not quite approval. Something deeper. Something that sent another shiver down my spine. You are unlike most humans, she murmured. I huffed out a breath. Yeah, well, I guess I'm not most humans anymore. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. No, she agreed. You are not. Silence settled between us again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy with unspoken things. Questions neither of us asked. Answers we weren't ready to give. I exhaled. So what happens now? She studied me for a long moment before answering. You will stay aboard Velithary Prime for continued observation. Right? I muttered. Observation. Her gaze flickered slightly. That is what I am supposed to say. I frowned. And what do you actually mean? She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she reached out again, this time not in a clinical, detached way, but something gentler. Her fingers ghosted over my wrist, tracing the steady pulse there. You are bonded to me now, she said, voice quiet but unwavering. Whether by choice or circumstance, you are mine. And I. She trailed off, as if weighing her words. Then, softer. I do not wish to leave you behind. My breath hitched. Of all the things I expected to hear, that wasn't one of them. I swallowed. So, you're saying I get to stay? With you? Her golden eyes burned into mine. I would not have it any other way. I had never belonged anywhere. Not really. Not on Earth. Not drifting between the stars. But now I wasn't so sure. Because for the first time in my life, I felt something dangerously close to home. The words lingered between us, heavy with meaning. I do not wish to leave you behind. I had spent my entire life drifting, never really belonging anywhere. Born too restless for Earth, too human for the void. And yet, here I was, on an alien ship, bound to a woman who wasn't even of my species, body altered, mind expanding, future uncertain. And for the first time, I didn't feel lost. I felt claimed. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. You're serious? Her golden eyes never wavered. I do not speak lightly. I let out a breath, running a hand through my hair. I stopped myself. What the hell was I supposed to say? That I wanted this? That I had always wanted something like this, even before I knew it was possible? Because I did. I met her gaze again, searching for any hint of hesitation. There was none. She had already decided. And so had I. I exhaled a slow, measured breath. All right, I'll stay. Her expression didn't change, but something about her posture eased, like some unseen tension had lifted. Her six-fingered hand brushed over my forearm, not out of necessity this time, not part of any medical procedure. Just touch. Warm. Steady. Hers. You will not regret it, she murmured. I believed her. But the reality of it all was only just starting to sink in. I wasn't just recovering on this ship anymore. I was becoming part of it. Of her. What happens now? I asked. She studied me for a moment before stepping back, gliding toward the console at the far side of the room. With a few precise motions, the walls responded, shifting and pulsing with new information. Strange, flowing symbols hovered in the air, moving too quickly for me to track. You will need training, she said, her voice slipping back into something more controlled, more official. Your body is adapting well, but it is not yet fully stabilized. You will learn to navigate the changes as they come. I flexed my fingers absently. Even now, I could feel something different beneath my skin. Not just strength, not just heightened awareness, but something deeper. A connection. I swallowed. And you'll be the one training me? She turned, head tilting slightly. Would you prefer someone else? My stomach clenched at the thought of anyone else touching me the way she had. No, I admitted. Her lips curved just slightly. Not quite a smile, but something close. Good. I should have been worried. I should have been terrified. But instead, a slow, steady thrill curled through me at the thought of what was to come, of what we were becoming. Because whatever this was, whatever we were, this was only the beginning. The days that followed blurred together in ways I wasn't prepared for. I had thought the hardest part was over, the crash, the recovery, the bonding. But that was nothing compared to what came next. My body was still changing, still adapting in ways I couldn't fully grasp. My senses were sharper, my reflexes faster. I could feel things I never could before. The pulse of the ship beneath my feet, the faint energy humming in the air, the heat of her whenever she was near. And she was always near. I had been assigned quarters, but I barely spent any time there. Instead, I found myself shadowing her, following her through the winding corridors of the Velethary Prime. She never sent me away, never treated me like an outsider. If anything, she seemed attentive in a way that was almost possessive. I caught the way the others looked at me, her crew, her people. Some were curious, others were wary. None of them questioned her decision to keep me. None of them dared. I was hers now. That was all they needed to know. One evening, I found myself with her in the observation bay. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the ship and the vast, endless sprawl of stars beyond the glass. She stood beside me, hands clasped behind her back, golden eyes focused on the swirling nebulae in the distance. I stole a glance at her. Even now, after everything, she still didn't seem real. Tall, powerful, breathtaking in a way that made my chest ache. She must have felt my gaze because she turned, studying me with that quiet intensity that always set my pulse racing. You are restless, she observed. I huffed out a small breath, rubbing the back of my neck. Yeah, well, hard to sleep when your body is going through some kind of alien upgrade. Her lips twitched just slightly. You are adjusting faster than expected. Yeah? And what happens when the adjustment is done? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped closer, her gaze searching mine. The air between us shifted, charged with something unspoken. You remain mine, she murmured. A shiver ran through me, not from fear, not from uncertainty, from something deeper, something that had settled in my bones the moment she had first touched me. I can live with that, I admitted. Her golden eyes darkened slightly. Good. I didn't know what the future held. Didn't know what I was becoming, what we were becoming. But as she reached for me, touch firm, claiming, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't lost anymore. I was exactly where I was meant to be. With her, among the stars. And I wasn't going anywhere.